Assalamu alaikum everyone. Welcome to the Iron Ivy monthly series where we basically talk about everything and anything that can give useful insights to students as they decide to, figure out what majors they want to pursue, which careers they're looking into, and what universities they want to apply to. So this is actually our third talk, which we are very excited about. Our previous two sessions were on AI in medicine, as well as on how to increase your score within a week. So do head to our YouTube channel, where we are going to start uploading all of our useful webinars that hopefully will give you a little bit of useful insight as you look to decide what your major is and what careers you want to choose, as well as your study destinations. So right now, our talk today is going to be about the law profession. So if any of you are thinking about pursuing law as a career, and you are in 9th, 10th, 11th grade, and you are looking to build your profile as well as apply to universities, then this is going to be a fantastic podcast where we will, I think, give you a little bit of insight into what it means to be a lawyer, what this job actually entails, what are the various study options that you have, and how is, of course, the popular topic, how is AI disrupting this landscape? So we have with us two experts in the field, because I don't know enough about law. Habeeba Ahmad, she's a barrister-at-law. She's also a chief legal officer at the Punjab Financial Authority and also a legal educator with over a decade of teaching experience. We also have Zara Ahmed with us, who has just recently transitioned as the head of HR at Coca-Cola. She has massive experience working with corporate law firms as well as having in-house legal experience. Did I miss anything in your introduction?
You're good.
Great. So let's have an icebreaker question first. All right. In one sentence, what do you think is the biggest misconception that high schoolers probably have about what a lawyer actually does all day?
It's nothing like Suits.
It's nothing like Suits.
I was actually going to say the same thing. But yeah, the other misconception is that, if I'm good at fighting with people and arguing with people, I'll be a great lawyer. So
that's also a misconception. All right. So it's not as glamorous as Suits.
Correct.
And it's not as exciting. All right, got it. Okay, so why don't we begin with what made you guys choose law? Like, was it something that you always knew you wanted to do when you were, 16 years old, or is it something that you sort of fell into because your parents said so? What sort of triggered this? career for you?
Sure, I can start. So how did I choose law? I was very good at maths, and I was actually looking to pursue a career in actuarial sciences. That was the initial idea. But my father was very keen for me to not pursue, but at least look into the options. And so I did multiple internships before and during my A levels as well. And one of them particularly struck with me was at ICI. In their in-house department, and then I realized that there are so many different avenues of law that you can really pursue, and so many options that open up. So as a woman, it was a lot like you only have litigation as the option, or you just have a corporate firm, but there were so many other options that were there as well. And I think the math side of my brain, though a lot of people won't agree, sort of helped me in terms of developing those analytical skills, etc., and realizing that may be a profession that I could go into.
Okay, great. So it was basically sort of putting yourself into these internships and work experiences that helped you. And that's actually what we encourage students to do as well, like starting from 9th, 10th grade, at least explore through work experiences or through internships, whichever degrees you're thinking about. So I think that's awesome. What about you, Habeeba? I know math from personal experience was not your
Yes, math was not my strong suit. Yes, so I think completely contrary to Zara's experience. I think one of the reasons was I thought it would not entail as much math. I was wrong. Now that I'm working with within the financial advisory space, so math, yes, always a yes. I think. Having said that, in my was at that time, it seemed like.
So it was to escape math. You chose law.
It was one of the factors. One of the factors was definitely escaping math, because I had big shoes to fill in the house. My mom was a math teacher and brother was an actuary. So it was like, I don't want to come into this competitive zone. Having said that, as Zara said, at that time during my A levels, I really enjoyed A level law. One of the teachers that we had, she made it really interesting, and I always felt like this is something that I wanted to do. And then I also had an internship with Barrister Salim Sehgal. He's passed away now, but when I worked in his chamber and again saw the diversity of work, even though that was mostly litigation and that's not something I ended up doing,
Right.
but there was such a diverse array of subjects that you were dealing with every day, and the depth in which you would go. So I never thought of law to be that detailed or that vast until I did that internship.
That's actually echoes what
Yeah.
you felt as well, right? When you went through your internships. So what sort of for a student, let's pivot back to the student. So for a student who is sitting in 10th, 11th grade and is, a bit confused about whether he or she wants to pursue law, what skills or abilities do you think you would say is important for that student to have if he wants to choose it?
So I think now in this day and age, it's very important to have obviously very good communication skills. That's really important, and then the analytical skills, because going forward, and of course we'll talk about it later as well. But in this day and age where AI is so prevalent amongst our lives, etc., I think it's very important to have sort of that analytical skills, good judgment, being able to reason, having logic behind everything, basic things, questioning, that curiosity, inquisitiveness has to be there, and of course communication. So those, and then of course your interpersonal skills are very important as a lawyer, because at the end of the day those are things that are going to matter as we go on in this digital era. So yeah, I think those are some of the things that you should be developing along with your legal skills.
And which you should enjoy doing,
Absolutely.
right?
Yeah, I could completely second that on that. That your communication skills are extremely important, and I'd just like to add that I feel like attention to detail, being responsible enough to actually realize that what you're doing could have a massive impact. If you're writing a contract, it's going to have a massive impact if you miss out anything.
Yeah.
So being diligent, I think the term due diligence in law is very, it goes hand in hand.
Yeah.
So that in itself, I think that you need to have that capacity that you're not just going to skim over something, although there are times when we all do that, I think, but you need to be able to pinpoint the exact relevant parts and
Right.
really be diligent about it.
Right. I mean, I remember I took a law 101 course, my own first and last course in university, and I remember just being overwhelmed by the sheer amount of reading
Yeah.
that you needed to do, and it wasn't skimming that you had to do.
Yeah.
The writing that you had to do and the interpretations that you had to do was just nothing like I had experienced in any other subject,
Yeah.
just in terms of the volume of reading and writing and analytics that you had to sort of work through. So I didn't enjoy it at all, but I guess it's
Yeah.
good to point that out, that is something that you need to be able to
I
enjoy
think,
doing.
yeah, that's what's important as well, being able to read and go through a lot of text, because
Yeah.
that's what the course entails as well. So obviously not later on in your career as much, but at least during the time that you're doing your degree, there is the magnitude of work and the reading is a lot. So that you should be sort of, you should be prepared to be dealing with that kind of
Right.
literature that you have to go through.
Right. Okay, perfect. So now on to my favorite topic, degrees and study choices, right? So, right now we have students across the globe actually who work with RNIB. So we have students here in Pakistan as well as in the Middle East and North America. And I know, there's sort of three standard pathways that we deal with. One are, students in Pakistan who are looking to pursue maybe local options versus, going to the UK or US. Would you be able to walk me through, and maybe you can, Habiba, I know you've done sort of taught at local universities as well. What sort of the local options entail, and when does it make sense for a student? I guess the second part of that question is, when does it make sense for a student to choose the local path versus UK or versus US?
Okay, so in terms of the degrees, I think people would know, but there is the University of London degree being offered in Pakistan. It used to be called the external degree, but now it's actually, you don't have to write external next to your degree. It's as good as having.
So basically, if you
University
do
of London
that,
degree.
it's University of
It's
College
University of
London.
and also it's University of London.
Okay,
University of
sorry.
London. But at the same time, it is over here. The option of doing it over here is obviously a lot more economical.
Yeah.
You get the same degree from here. Having said that, the experience, the exposure, I don't think that that you'll get in England is going to be different. The number of resources available to you would be different. But doing it from here is definitely a very, very good option that is available. Then you also have the local LLB and the BA-LLB program at LUMS, which is a 4-year degree. It used to be a 5-year degree, and at that time, I think at the time that I was choosing this path, I thought, 5 years versus 3 years. So you come into practice and you have 2 more years of experience compared to your peers who ended up in LUMS. Having said that, the LUMS degree is phenomenal. It's really good. It's a BA LLB. You have to take some other subjects as well. It's more diverse in terms of its content. As far as the University of London degree is concerned, it's pure law. So from day one, it's a very, like the British system usually is. It's, you jump into that the particular legal aspects. And there's all the subjects are related to law, and that's all that you do, which is great for developing folks as well. But at the end of the day, I feel LUMS also gives you a very well-rounded experience. So that is there. And be it local, be it the US, in the US, obviously it's a second degree, you have to do your bachelor's first, then you enroll for the GD. All of these, from what I know, again, but all of these in Pakistan now, you have to get, there's a GAT exam that everybody has to clear in order to get their license.
Okay.
So prior to this, there was another exam, which was an equivalence exam that you had to take for the external program, but that's what I believe it's currently been suspended.
Okay.
So you do take the GAT, and after that, you can qualify to get your license. But if you do go down the external degree route or get your degree from anywhere abroad, you now, I believe, you do need equivalents from the AGs. So,
okay.
yeah. So that is something which whereas I believe with the LUMS degree, it's already AGC accredited. So that's something that's a procedural step that you'll have to overcome if you intend to practice in Pakistan.
Okay. And Zara, I remember you mentioned something before this when you were speaking. Like, what is the general pathway for students? So if a student goes to UCL over here, does the external degree from here, versus a student who goes to LUMS for BA LLB, what is sort of a traditional pathway that student would take versus the UCL student?
So the external degree and as well as the UK degree, both because they're common law degrees, after that you have two options if you want to pursue your education abroad. So you can either do the bar, which is what the two of us have done, and that you can only do with either a University of London degree or a UK degree, because
For that you have to go abroad.
For that you have, or you can do the external degree as well. But it's the University of London one, because those are the only ones that are considered a qualifying law degree. And so directly after that, you can do the bar, which is what we did. It's a 1-year vocational training course, or you do what's called the LPC, the solicitor's course. Obviously, if you want to practice in the UK, they're two completely different fields. One is pursuing your career, in litigation, like in Pakistan. So when you're appearing before the courts, that's how you get a license. If you do the bar, if you do the LPC, that's if you want to pursue corporate law. So if you want to go into one of the magic circle firms, etc., so then you do that. But in terms of employability, the LPC around the world, if you've done that and you have a solicitor's, the LPC, then it becomes easier to be employed globally as well, like in the Middle East, because all of these firms have offices in the Middle East, in the UK, the US. The LUMS degree is good in terms of, though you can't do the LPC or the bar without doing a conversion course, what you can do is, and what most people do, is go for an LLM after that to the US. And because LUMS is such a solid program, most of these kids who get out of LUMS can get the Fulbright scholarship and then go to great universities to do the LLM also. And I think in terms of, though in your career it might not have a big impact because it's more of an academic degree, but you can sort of specialize in certain areas if you feel that you're more inclined towards maritime law, competition law, something like that. But also it gives you a well-rounded experience, the exposure of having a foreign degree. It sort of gives you those resources that Habeeba was talking about earlier, in terms of, you know, the professors, the libraries, the resources that you get over there. So that sort of experience. And like I said, it's not just about the content, it's more about like opening up the mind as well. So, you know, you get that exposure is very valuable also.
And for those who want to go in the academia, I think an LLM is a better degree, as we were discussing earlier as well.
Yeah.
If you want to go into teaching, and
Okay.
if you want to you go down that route if you're very strong in academics. What your passion is.
Right. Okay, great. So
I was just going to add that the good thing is that though the bar is a vocational course and it's you know, in Pakistan it has a certain prestige attached to it, which is why most lawyers you will see will do the you know, an LLB and then go to the bar, because there is a prestige attached to it. But also I feel that the skills that you learn on the bar course are quite valuable in terms of any other you know, once you get into the profession, because it's very skill based. So you know, our conferencing module or your negotiations module,
right.
your litigation, civil and criminal litigation module, those
Yeah.
things you will learn eventually on the job, but this sort of gives you a very hands-on experience on those things,
Got it.
as opposed to LLM being very, very theoretical, LPC being again very, very specific to corporate law. So you know, yeah.
So it's almost like a decision between whether you're interested in academia or you're interested in the actual practice of law. Would you say that? Like if you go through UCL, basically what I'm hearing is that you get that external degree from UCL and then you can go abroad for your bar or the LPC, and then that makes you quite employable in terms of corporate law or the practice of law in Pakistan or abroad, versus, you know, doing an LLB from NUMS and then going on to LLM and academia.
No, it's not. It's not just academia. As Zara also said, that you know, if you want to specialize in a particular area of law, which really interests you, and you want to practice in that area of law,
So then the
Be it
LLM is
competent,
useful.
then
Then
the
okay.
you know, it would definitely add
Right.
value. And in addition to that, with the bar again, it's more of a, it's a vocational training course. So at the end of the day, the legal research skills that you get, I'm sure some component of that is also there in the LLM. And as Zara mentioned, negotiation, conferencing, like daily skills.
Okay.
So, but they're two very different routes. I wouldn't say that it's specifically, but I'm saying it's better for academics as well. Okay, the bar, I think, is more vocational compared to.
Got it. And what about the switch? Like, so if someone is doing LLM, and so I'm getting into the details of it because this is, I think, you know, if I have these questions, I'm sure a lot of other kids may have these questions as well. If you're doing LLM, then, and after that you want to practice law, whether as, you know, with the corporate firms or whether as in-house counsel, then do you still need to get the bar and the LPC, or you can practice after LLM?
So in Pakistan, you can, as I said, there's a licensing exam that you need to take.
Okay.
Anybody
As long
and
as you pass the
everybody
licensing
has to
exam.
come and take that exam, and after that you get the license practice. Abroad, I think obviously you have to take the bar exam in order to practice in different jurisdictions in the US, and same for the UK with the bar, as I already mentioned, that in order to get rights of audience, if you want to litigate, that's the preferred route.
Okay, got it.
But in terms of employability, like if I talk about global employability, so in Pakistan, it doesn't really have an impact in terms of your employability, in the sense that even with just an LLB, you can practice law in Pakistan, right?
Okay.
It's just that obviously your profile is enhanced in terms of if you have a bar or if you have an LLM or if you've specialized in certain, then depending on what you really want to do, right? Because there's so many different, there's human rights, there's corporate law, there's litigation, what kind of litigation. So there are different avenues. So, but in terms of employability, it doesn't really affect it. But globally, if you have the LPC or the SQE now that they call it, you are more employable in terms of other, like I said, like I was mentioning earlier, you know, the corporate firms, the magic circle firms, they will employ you if you have that degree. Bar and the UK is specifically restricted to the UK, unfortunately. So if you've done it, if you really want to practice in the UK, or you want to come back to Pakistan, or like we had people from Bangladesh, you know, countries that recognize that it's applicable there. In the US, you have to give your bar exam based on
States
the
that
state
you
that you're in.
want.
So if you're in New York, you have to give the New York bar, etc. So that is, again, depends if you
Okay.
that's where you see your career.
Okay, so very simplistically, in Pakistan, you can practice just with an LLB and potentially a license exam.
Correct.
And then sort of the prestige factor comes
Yeah.
through the LLM as well as the bar or the
Yeah.
PC. And I think globally that there are other requirements for you to practice.
Yes,
Yeah.
correct.
Got it. Okay, so I hope that, by the way, if anyone has any questions or, want more details on some of these paths that we talked about, feel free to message us as well or comment under the video, and then we'll get back to you. I'm going to switch a little bit, so I know this was a little bit heavy. In terms of career journey, let's get into more fun stuff, because I think a lot of times students feel that, especially my daughter actually, she felt that, do I really have to decide what I have to do for the rest of my life right now? And I feel like a lot of, kids get stuck with this stress and burden. And I love to show them examples of how, the degree doesn't really pigeonhole you. I think we have many examples around us how you can pivot in various ways of a degree that you choose in uni. So, and I know you've had different paths between just the both of you as well, even though you both did your bar at London, but then you followed very different paths. So you can tell me a little bit, maybe Zara, starting with you, about what your experience was like in the corporate law firms and what made you decide to now doing a very different space, which is head of HR.
Sure. So I started off again, like you said, once you've done a law degree, you think you're going to change the world after that, but that doesn't really happen. So, when you get into law, what you really want to do and what your aspirations are, they change over time. So, yes, I started my career at a corporate law firm in Karachi. And that's basically where I learned everything that I did. I worked there for 4.5 years, and it was purely corporate intellectual property law. So I did that, and then I also tried my hand out at litigation for a year or so, and I realized that wasn't my calling. The good thing with law is, and I'm going to take this opportunity to talk about that, is the many different areas that you can explore. So, like you said, yes, you may feel that you're stuck because you've chosen a degree, but there's so much that you can do with it, even within law, right?
Right.
So again, tried corporate law, did a bit of litigation, tried different areas of law again and at another corporate law firm. And then eventually about 10 years ago, I decided that, I got this opportunity, explore in-house. I didn't think I would last very long because a lot of times the impression is that when you move in-house, that's the end of your legal career and you sort of become a postman because you're not really doing real legal work. You're like a postman between the law firm and the company. But the good thing was when I transitioned here, it wasn't such. So when I moved to Coca-Cola, it was very different. We were setting up the legal department. So got a lot of exposure in terms of how businesses and how you really integrate the business with the law, right?
Yeah.
So for externally, you're sort of just talking about the black and white. But when you move inside, you need to be talking about the gray as well, talking about, how the business can mitigate risks that an external lawyer is highlighting. So that was very interesting. And again, like I said, many different options that you can pursue. Now I've transitioned into the head of HR role. And yes, very different. How do my legal skills sort of play a role in this new role that I have? I feel, like I said earlier, those skills that you develop, the analytical skills, the communication skills, the negotiation skills that we learned while at bar school, they really come in handy when you are at a role like this, right? Because you're dealing with people, you're dealing with the culture, you're dealing with the organization, change in the organization. So all of that, and a lot of it is, again, questioning why are we doing things like that? Why can't we do it like that? So a lot of things, that sort of mindset that the law degree develops for you can be used anywhere. Your politicians around the world, most of them are lawyers, right?
Yeah.
So like that mindset that the law degree develops can be used anywhere. So I really feel in that sense, it's a really versatile degree. And in this role, again, I think in every role, some part of law comes into play. So the employment law, the labor law, all of that I already had a strong hold over because I had done it in the past. So that side is covered. And then you sort of work on those softer skills that you develop with that law degree.
Right.
So I think that way it's a really solid degree to have. And I don't think you get stuck with it at any point because there's really a lot that you can do and explore.
Yeah. It seems like you can almost sort of fluidly go towards, parts of, I guess, towards areas, or you can adapt yourself based on what you're doing, what you start off doing practicing law. You can move towards many other fields based on what you're looking for in your life at that point, right?
Yeah.
Whether it's flexibility, or whether it's
Absolutely.
or whether it's just a different pace of work
Yeah.
that you want.
And like Habiba's been teaching for a while. I tried my hand out at teaching. It wasn't my calling, but I did it for a year. I worked with an NGO for a little while. So like a lot of things that you can explore, see what really is your calling, what makes you happy at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Because honestly, just doing the degree, once you finish the degree, it's really not what is taught in your course. It's what you learn on the job. That's what's important. So
Right.
I think lots to explore.
Yeah, I think.
And Habiba, how's your experience? Because now you're in, I would love to hear about the private experience versus the public sector experience.
So I think, yeah, and I started off, my first job was at RIA, which is a top-tier law firm. I was with Justice Aisha Malik at that time. She was the senior partner over there. And I learned a lot over there. But at that time, I think in my mind, yes, I had landed from the plane and I was in the suits mindset. And I was expecting it all to be very glamorous. And, and then when I was given my first banking law case and I was drafting the responses, and I was like, I don't think this is what I had thought it would be.
Yeah.
Having said that, but obviously we have a very superficial understanding when we come, and the work
Even after
very different.
even after completing the bar.
Even after completing the bar, because you've been practicing in a very different environment.
Yeah.
And this is coming back to Pakistan, and I kept on thinking that there has to be more to it. Even though I feel, and now looking back, I feel like at that time what I learned was exceptionally useful. But during that time period, I think you're young and you feel like there has to be something else, and I don't know what you're I honestly don't know what I was looking for now.
Yeah.
But as I said, suits mindset was something which was transitioned from there to another law firm where I did a lot of intellectual property, a lot of competition law. I guess, explored the corporate side, filings. So again, the diversity of the kind of law that you can practice, and as Zara said, you choose what is your calling, what is your niche, what you genuinely enjoy, and then over a period of time you develop expertise in particular areas. So it's very, very diverse, and I feel like children who think that if we go into law, we're then going to be stuck with it for the rest of our lives. That diversity within the field is very prevalent. So that's I think a great thing about law. After that, yes, I transitioned in-house with the government. It was a very different experience, but a very interesting experience nonetheless. I feel like the impact that your work has in law firms, you're working for clients, you're doing good things, but over here you see the impact. You see that
In the public sector.
in the public sector.
Yeah.
If you're working on a hospital project, if you're working on a road sector project, you actually see the impact of the work that you're doing, and I think that in itself is a great feeling. So both have their own set of challenges, but again, I think overall, law generally as a field, I feel, has a lot of potential and a lot of scope. So you don't get bored. There's never a dull day. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
But at least you're not pigeonholed into one thing, which is, I think, the clear message here. Okay, so now moving on to the scary topic, AI. So how is this affecting, I guess, just very simply, just in terms of the work that you see being done in your workplace, how do you think AI is affecting that? And then how is that also affecting the types of people that you're hiring? Whoever wants to go first.
Sure, I can. So, in terms of the way AI is affecting the legal landscape, I think, like other professions as well, I think the more administrative, the more menial, the more time-consuming tasks are obviously being done by AI. In the legal profession, the very tedious legal research, the first drafts, the sort of first reviews,
Yeah.
so things that used to take a lot of time earlier, those time consuming tasks, obviously, you can really use AI effectively. The important thing is that to have that critical eye and not just completely rely on AI as well. So that's important to have a sense check on the things that you are getting out of AI as well. But so to utilize it effectively, yet keeping that check in mind. So I think because obviously the stakes are very high in the legal profession, and of course, you need to be ensuring that that legal lens, that
Yeah.
critical eye is on it. The other thing is, but in terms of yes, it being used but in terms of the kids that are coming in, and since now I have a different lens, sort of from the HR perspective, I think it's very important for other functions, particularly for a lot of the data crunching, the data analyzing, right? There's so much information, and you can use it for so many little tasks that you can automate. So it's really important to see the new kids that come in terms of what digital skills that they have, and for them to develop that as well, because that's going to be an asset going forward. The
Yeah.
companies are, when we talk about future fit workforce, we look at those skills. We're specifically zoning into what is it that they're bringing into the workforce from the AI and the digital perspective. So that's a big focus for not just multinationals, but your local companies as well.
Right. And how do you assess that? Because I know you just recently built a team,
Yeah.
right? At your so how are you sort of assessing whether this person is a good fit in terms of being able to use AI and also be an excellent lawyer?
So honestly, at the time of the interviews, it's very hard to gauge this, right? Because everybody says that they do use, yes, we use Claude, yes, we use ChatGPT, we all do. So, it's not, I think I have realized it after hiring, is when I realized that one of the candidates, particularly who's now part of my team, is really, really good with AI. And what he's done is he's automated our entire team. So we're on co-work. So my entire team is connected. He's also trained Claude in some of the Claude knows what our team is working on. There are different projects, we can all work on them simultaneously if we use the team's node. Then he's also integrated it with Obsidian, which is another. It makes it very easy for you to read the documents, which would otherwise be very difficult to read. So I feel like he's brought in a lot of value. But yes, at the time of the interview, I'll be very honest, I did not think that this was a skill set that he would bring.
Right.
And even in our questioning, I think we also it's a new space for all of us, right? So I think we also need to be very cognizant of this, and we need to ask pointed questions in the future about exactly what kind of capabilities and skills do you have. Having said that, I feel like this person has honed those skills himself. He doesn't really have those courses, and now those options are also available. So going forward, I feel like with the kids who are now going to be applying to law school, and by the time they enter the job market, it would be useful that they do some of these online courses, which are
to be able to show as evidence.
Show as evidence of their um, skill, their AI skill level, and I think it's going to be very, very useful. But as I also said, it is not a replacement for due diligence because it does hallucinate. We've had such instances pop up. It is very useful because in terms of condensing the amount of research and reading that you need to do, but you do need to do a due diligence check, and you do need to keep that eye out as well. In addition to that, I feel like one skill which I found to be very interesting recently is, and I think everybody is making those, maybe I'm just, but I'm excited about it, is that a lot of people are making very good dashboards with Claude, with the help of Claude now.
Yeah.
So again, it's a project under process, but what we're trying to do is that we're setting up Claude is helping us make this dashboard where we'll pick up live data from all the live tenders that are going on in a particular field.
Right.
It will display World Bank and ADB news if there's any big project coming in, and we're gonna try and link it to our website and hopefully have that dashboard available as well. And it just gives a very I feel like a very professional and polished feel to the institution as well.
Right.
And it doesn't involve the amount of work that it would otherwise.
Require.
Otherwise, setting this up would be a huge task.
Yeah.
But now I feel AI has made it much easier. But yes, with the caveats that due diligence is extremely important.
Yeah.
When it hallucinates, you
Yeah.
don't want to be
Yeah.
on the wrong side of AI in that sense. But it is very important.
So I guess the message here is that I think that's probably from an HR perspective as well, right? As kids are looking to pursue various fields, I think it's becoming increasingly important, and you're probably looking at that now in HR as well, whether they have digital skills,
Yeah.
as well, and that would probably put them in a more competitive pool versus other students, right?
Absolutely, because again, we have a lot of data and the digital tools already embedded within our systems. So when we are hiring fresh talent, we need to have them already ready to just get, so savvy that they can just hit the ground running with those, like you said, dashboards, etc. So there are a lot of digital systems that are already in place in organizations like ours. So we need people who
Yeah.
can just use those. With the younger generation, I think it's easier because they're already digital savvy. So
Yeah.
yes, sort of knowing what upskilling themselves, and yes, knowing doing the courses, knowing what the right areas are to focus on, that's important. I think the real challenge is upskilling the current workforce that we
Yes,
have,
right.
rather than the younger lot that
Figure out that it's gonna
yeah.
be. Okay, great. So I'm going to now switch gears a little bit as well. Um, Final takeaways. So I think again, high schoolers, we're still talking about a lot of students who are still trying to make a decision in terms of what their careers are going to be and what majors they're going to pick. But if there's one, given it's summer holidays as well, if there's one book, movie, or podcast that you would want to recommend, and I'm assuming Suits is not one of them, then for every aspiring law student, what would it be?
So I used to tell my A-level law students to watch this movie called A Few Good Men.
Okay.
Especially when we would do the topic of juries, which not as relevant right now, but at the end of the day, I think it's a very good movie which shows you the impact and about. We'll have to edit this a little bit, but about what it's about how juries work and what impacts the ordinary person can also have on the legal system.
Yeah.
And I think it just opens up their horizons.
Okay, great. And it's more, it's not like fiction, right? Like, so it's more
No.
based on what actually happens in
Yes.
reality.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it is. And there is a TED talk on AI ethics by Fahad Tanfred, which I would
Yes.
also want to add.
Right, right. We'll include the link to that after this. A good plug-in for our favorites. Yeah.
So honestly, like, I'm not going to recommend something which is legal, because there is anyway a lot of legal literature that you're going to be reading if you pursue law, or even if you're doing A-level law, right? So I think the more important thing, and especially in the summer holidays, is the skills that you should be working on are like leadership skills and softer skills. Like, there's so many great books, and I'm exploring them now because now I'm in a role like that. But on building trust, on what leadership skills are, what really you require, even in terms of like softer skills about working in teams, collaboration, etc. So these are skills that going forward are going to be the focus.
And what book are you reading right now?
So currently the book I'm reading is by Brown Wren. The title is just skipped my mind, but it's a very good book in terms of leadership skills. So yeah, that's what. And the other book that I was reading that I just recently finished is The First 90 Days, because I was in the middle of a transition.
Okay.
So that's an excellent book if you're in transitioning into something. But yeah, so I think those are the books that I would focus on more rather than law, because you'll be reading enough law in your
That's true.
in your law degree.
But I know A Few Good Men is quite a fun movie as well. So
Yeah.
I think okay, great. So leadership books and A Few Good Men as the advice for the summer.
If I'm thinking about what I'm reading right now, it's called The Disease to Please.
The
I
Disease
think
to
that's
Please.
also actually a good takeaway for kids, the innate need for us to, get external validation, to feel that, we are what, everybody else has to say that what you're doing is right.
Yeah.
How, you yourself can be enough. And I
Yeah.
think that's also a very good book.
I think that's very relevant to high schoolers who have multiple stakeholders to please.
Yeah.
I think.
Yes.
Okay, so to your younger self, to yours, and let's say that's 16, what, as you look back to your younger self, what would you advise that girl in terms of, subject choices to make, careers to pursue, or, whether you're just confused about what you want to do in life? What advice would you give to that person?
I think I would. I think
Specifically in terms of law, like this is law.
specifically in terms of pursuing law, I would uh, think that don't listen too much to the external voices. Do listen to them if they're talking sense, but at the same time, I got a lot of pushback when I was choosing law as a subject choice because that everybody thinks that, you need to do the sciences and that's more important, and you need to you can get into law school after you've taken sciences
Right.
as well. But I feel like, and at that time, I was really stressed when I would hear that. Maybe it's not the right choice, and I shouldn't have done this. But looking back, I feel like that stress I should not have taken. I probably chose law as a field because I had taken A level law, and I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And during my degree, it really my first year actually was a breeze because I had done a lot of the coursework. I covered it in my hours as well, and it helped me in getting good grades in the first year as well. So I would say, if your heart says that you should take a subject and you believe you'll enjoy it, then
Go for it.
Yeah.
Go for it. Okay. And what would you give?
I think similar to what Habiba said, and also like what we discussed earlier, that I think we really, at the time of making that decision, we really take a lot of pressure in terms of this is it, and this is going to be our life, and it's this decision is the decision. I think
Yeah.
that's what that pressure, the kids who are especially looking at exploring degrees, again, do what your heart says, do what you because your career options may vary. It's about getting a great education, it's about opening up your mind. Then obviously the career options are so fluid these days that you can really explore
That's
what you
true.
want. So
Yeah.
that's why I think you need to let go of that pressure at that point, that you're really
Yeah.
going to be
Yeah.
stuck with this for the rest of your life. So that's something that I would probably tell myself.
No, that's excellent advice, and I just like to thank you both so much for taking out the time from your busy schedules to
Thank
be
you.
here.
Thank you for having us.
And I know I have learned a lot about law. I almost want to go back and be 16 and give law another shot, but I think this was fantastic. So thank you so much.
Thank you.